I was 5 when I first met him. I can still remember it. We were driving to the grocery store in a big van. My dad at the wheel, my mom arguing with my older brother over an M-rated video game he wanted to buy. All the commotion started to make my little sister cry. I sat in the back seat all by myself, trying to ignore it all as I played on my Game Boy. But it was too noisy and too hot to focus on it. Finally, I gave up and decided to lie down on the seat, taking a nap before we got to the store. I don't know how long I was out, but when I woke up, it was really hot. Sweat was dripping down my scalp and my mouth felt like sandpaper. Sitting up, I rubbed my head and tried to remember where I was, only to realize that the car was now parked near the grocery store entrance. My family, no doubt, caught up in their arguments, must have forgotten about me. I wasn't alone in the car, though. I realized as I noticed there was a strange figure sitting at the passenger seat, looking forward at the car parked in front of us with their hands behind their head. "Who are you?" I asked bluntly, and I could see he had taken them by surprise. The figure jumped up from their seat and turned their head around to look at me. I could see that it was a boy, with pale skin and silver hair that reminded me of the characters in my brother's games. To my surprise, he smiled when he saw me. "Hey there, little guy." He greeted me as if he were one of my relatives. Before he crawled forward into the middle seat, I didn't think he'd wake up. I backed away as he came closer, which made him laugh as he sat backwards in the chair staring down at me. "Come on, there's no need for that. I swear I won't touch you." Being a 5-year-old, I wasn't equipped to handle a situation like this, so I resorted to stating the obvious. "This isn't your car," I said. "That's true," he replied as his smile seemed to grow wider. "Don't worry, kid. I won't be here too long. I'm just waiting." "Waiting for what?" I asked back. But in reply, he just winked at me before lying back down on the seats. It was then that I noticed the smell around him. Ashy and stale, like a dying fire. Not wanting to say anything else to this stranger, I moved to the edge of the seat and stared out to the store's entrance, waiting for my family to come back. After some time passed, I saw my mom walk out towards the van alone in a hurry. It seemed she had finally noticed I was missing. "Hey," I said to the stranger, "you need to leave. My mom's coming." "Really?" he asked as he shot back up to look out the window. To my surprise, he seemed excited about the news. Upon seeing her walking down the lot, he turned to me with an oddly somber look, given what he'd been acting like just moments before. "Well, kid," he said, "it's been fun talking to you, but I've got to get to work. Don't hate me too much for this, all right?" I was about to ask what he meant when a loud noise outside caught my attention. I turned back to the window to see that where my mother had been standing, a car was now in her place. A woman, who I assume was the driver, was standing next to the driver's side, screaming and sobbing as a crowd of people surrounded her. I was confused about what was happening until I saw 2 legs lying in the parking lot, the rest of the body obscured by a parked car. A trail of blood was leaking out from a wound I couldn't see, and as my eyes followed it, I noticed that at the end of the legs were my mother's shoes. I stood frozen for a few seconds as my brain processed the scene, and as tears started to run down my face, I turned around to face the boy. "What did you do?" I called out in anger, only to freeze when I realized I was now alone in the van. Somehow he had slipped out without me even hearing. Now, alone and confused, I had no idea what else to do. So I did what any child would have done. Crawled into the middle seats, pulled the door open, and ran to my mother. By the time I'd gotten up to her, A sizable crowd had already formed, and I could hear the wailing of an ambulance in the distance. I tried to shove my way through the onlookers, and as I did, I noticed the dying fire smell again. Looking to the direction of it, I could see a glimpse of silver hair before it disappeared through the group, and a new burst of energy coursed through my body. I pushed through people with strength I didn't think I was capable of, shouting all the way as I got to the edge of the crowd, who were now being pushed by the store's security. I could see the boy walking out towards my mom, who was lying in a heap next to the entrance. "Leave her alone," I shouted, and ran forward before any of the guards could stop me. The boy ignored my pleas as he neared my mother's body. When he got close enough to her, he knelt down by her side and raised his hand out to her. I was just about to reach them when I felt a pair of hands grab my waist and lift me up. "No! No!" Kicking and punching at my assailant as they pulled me away. I looked over to see that it was my father, who was staring at me with a panicked expression as he marched back towards the crowd. "Let me go," I protested. "You have to stop him." But it was too late. I realized as I turned my head back, the boy had his hand resting on my mother's face, and he was staring at me with a look of remorse. In an instant, I stopped all my protesting and began to sob into my dad's shoulder. Later, when we were in the police office, we'd been told that my mom had died on scene. In her hurry to come back for me, she wasn't paying attention to the traffic of the parking lot and didn't notice a car pulling through from the next lane. The woman who was on her phone didn't notice my mom until it was too late. I tried to tell them about the boy in the car who knelt down beside my mother as she was lying on the asphalt. However, everyone told me that I was the only one who had tried to run up to her. They even looked through security footage of the parking lot to see if there was anyone else in the van with me before my mother's death, and saw that there was nobody else inside but me. Eventually, they had a specialist come in and say that the heat of the van, mixed with the trauma of the experience, had caused me to hallucinate the whole thing. Still though, for the next few days, whenever we'd ride in that old van, I'd smell that dying fire scent lingering in the air.